Episode, I believe, is episode 9.
Episode 9, Newbie podcast.
Yeah. What's going on?
How we doing, guys?
Good.
Welcome back, Camilo.
Oh, thank you. I missed you guys.
A little siesta.
Yeah. So, guys, welcome to the Newbie Real Estate Investor Podcast. I'm Joey Chan, of course, and we have Hector Mendoza, who's back on the show with us talking about crypto and stocks. And then we got Joe Falla talking about real estate and mortgages. Awesome. So I'm going to start the show off. Not show off, but you know what I mean. So I just recently closed on a subject to.
Congratulations.
Thank you, guys.
Congratulations.
Yeah. So I want to briefly walk you guys through kind of what a subject to is, and then, thanks for the water. And then I'm going to also kind of talk to you about how I got the deal and some of the numbers on the deal itself, right? So actually, I'll do that first before I get into what is a subject to.
One of the main reasons I wanted Joey to talk about this, because every time on YouTube, there's all these niche, one person sets it off and then it just goes off like a wildfire, right? Yeah. Oh, let me tell you how to expertly do a subject to, and right. No one has even done any. Yeah. All they've done is watch some videos. They've watched you on YouTube. They've watched all these other gurus. They're not gurus, right? Joey's a guru. There's a difference between a guru and a guru, right?
I appreciate that.
Right. So that's why I wanted Joey to talk about this today, because it's just like you just go on these real estate, you put real estate on your YouTube like mine. Mm-hmm. The algorithm just always throwing real estate and people's court stuff in front of my house, in front of my YouTube pages, right?
Right.
And it's just continuous. And but if you ask any of these people, show me a HUD statement, show me a contract that you've actually completed one of these, I guarantee you,
right,
less than half of these people could do that. So
yeah. So I don't profess to be an expert at all, right? But I have done it. So because I've done it and it's fresh in my mind, that's why I want to talk about it.
That's why it's good to pick your brain about it today.
Exactly. Yeah, and then I learned so much about this one because the one I did in the past. So I did one in Texas, okay, which is very easy in terms of doing a subject to, right, in Texas, because you can actually go to a lawyer, and then the lawyer will do all your paperwork and will explain everything to you and will explain everything to the seller. So you don't have anything to worry about because it's a lawyer telling them, hey, this is what's going on, this is what's going to happen, and this is what the end result is going to be. So here in New Jersey, I've tried to do subject twos so many times in the past, especially when we were really like acquiring properties back in 2020 and 21. We try to do them, and boy, did we have a hard time doing them because, I try to reach out to people that were gurus, and they just don't give you the right information. I reached out to one of my guru mentors who I paid money to be in his class, okay? And I was like, hey, can we set up an appointment, because you only have like 2 or 3 appointment and personal time with this guy. Mm-hmm. So I was like, hey, let me set up one of my 45 minutes. I want to use it for this session. So I go in, ask him questions, and after I was done, I was actually more confused, right, about what the process is, how to do it, and things like that. So I tried it, and then, we got into a couple of deals that we thought were subject twos, and then it turns out they weren't good candidates for subject to. Mm-hmm. So, and we talked offline, like, what is the ideal sweet spot, right, in terms of like price or situation for subject to, because not every situation is good for a subject to.
It's not like regular real estate where you can, I'm going to overbuy, I'm going to overbid on this property because I know there's, the school district's getting better, and There are other reinvestment acts happening in this particular city, and you may not be getting it right off the front, but it's a long-term project, where with subject twos, that's really not the case.
Right.
Joy, let me ask you a question. For those that have no background at all in subject two,
Right.
tell me a little bit about why subject two is beneficial in layman terms.
Why? I'm sorry.
What is the importance of layman two, and how is it different than any other process?
Sure.
At a high level, you know.
Yeah.
Just so people can have a little bit of background.
Yeah, absolutely. So subject two, basically, you're taking over someone's mortgage payments, only payments, nothing else, simply. Okay. So you're not putting it under your name, which is more of an assumption of a mortgage. Okay. So let's say I have a mortgage of $200,000.
Okay.
And I have the situation where, I don't know, I lost my job and I can't afford to pay for the house, right? I simply bought the house for too much because, the market was going up and now I can't afford it.
Right.
So that's when the subject two kind of comes in handy, okay? And I need to leave the house, right? Because again, I can't afford the house anymore. It's way too expensive for me for whatever reason. So now I don't mind, let's say, having you take over the payments, but the mortgage stays in my name. Okay, so that's the biggest key. So there has to be some level of trust between the buyer and the seller.
Gotcha.
Okay, so that's where, like I said, that
The difficulty could come in.
yeah, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, there's a level of risk, right? With almost with any deal, but this one, to me, there's a little bit more of a risk than other like deals where you're actually putting it in your name, whereas this one you're not actually putting it in your name. Okay, so the way it actually works is and this is the part I could never figure out before. Okay, you're actually putting this. So you're creating a trust, okay? So you're creating a trust, and then that trust is really what's gonna the name is gonna transfer to you. Okay, so you're gonna create that trust, and then in the trust, the beneficiary is the seller. That's the beneficiary, and this is what banks want to see. If you're so the reason most people create the trust is because they're doing it for like probate reasons or tax reasons, right? So they're creating that trust, and this is very normal. Like on my street, there's 2 other houses that have their name on, like the house is owned by the trust, So this is, like I said, it's very normal, and these 2 people, I kind of know them, just being in the neighborhood. They're not like sophisticated real estate investors. Like their lawyer told them to do this because they're because they're older people, and if something, God forbid, happened to them, now the trust owns the property, okay, and then they're gonna have a trustee. It could be themselves or someone they assign, one of their family members most of the time. The son, the younger.
It's kind of like a
son or
will.
daughter. It's almost like a will, but it's definitely not a will. So you have that, right? And then what you're gonna do is that trust is gonna protect you somewhat from the due on sale clause, because that's what everybody's afraid of.
What's a due on sale clause?
So basically what it says is if you make a transfer on the deed of your property, the bank can basically ask you to pay your loan off in full. Okay? So, for example, if I'm selling you a house, right, that's when the due on sale clause is activated. Okay? But when you transfer it to a trust because of the St. Germain Act,
Okay.
you can transfer it into the trust. Okay? That's what allows you to do that. And for the due on sale clause to not be activated.
And that's national, right? It doesn't vary from state
That's
to
correct.
state.
That is national. That's the whole
federal.
United States. Yes.
Okay.
That's correct. I believe that was put in effect in 1982 or 92. I forget
Go Ronnie.
the year. So
Go Ronnie Reagan.
yeah, I don't know. It's irrelevant, right? So what year it is, unless you really need to know. So we gotta
Which
get.
switch is it?
Huh?
Which how do you turn it
Oh
on?
no, we just gotta get Rusberg to turn it off. Thanks. So after we establish those things, what we have to do is get the seller to do an assignment, right? So we have to transfer the trust into my LLC or my name. And that's kind of where it's a little bit of a gray area, okay? So initially you have, like I said, you have your trust, right? Now that trust, you have to assign the beneficiary to you. And that's where you actually gain that control, okay? So that's where everything is like, okay, now I control this property, all right, through the trust, okay? So that was the biggest key that mentor did not explain to me.
Which is probably the most important one.
Yeah, that was the most important element.
Right.
And that's kind of where like, oh, okay, I see how now that control gets transferred. Okay, so I don't know if you missed that.
I'm
part.
halfway. Yeah.
Yeah.
Caught halfway through.
So I think I explained to you before anyway. So basically that's the gist of the process. Okay. Everything else, we can explain it offline to you. Not to get too deep into it.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, the way so you're not going to shop around, number one, for a subject to deal, right? So these deals have to be created, okay? Because nobody's out there advertising. Well, not really. There are Facebook groups that do advertise this. But the way I found the last few was always through another wholesaler. Because we're not like doing our own marketing anymore, the wholesalers are saying, hey, I spoke to the seller and the seller is willing to do a subject to, give you the house subject to.
So the wholesaler is already profound. They know how to ask the right questions.
Yes.
Say, well, this isn't a property that we can sell, do a wholesale deal on. This sounds more of a subject to type of deal.
Correct.
Because of whatever the particulars are in the situation.
Yes.
Okay.
So
do you have a lot of wholesalers that know how to speak to that, or?
No.
Okay.
There are specific groups, but there's more and more of them that are learning about it.
I know there's a lot of gurus out there teaching.
Yeah, a lot of people are teaching it more often. So it's becoming more prevalent, right? And so let's
through YouTube Online Academy.
Yeah.
I got a quick question.
Yeah.
Joy. So what will be the biggest difference between subject to and seller financing?
Okay.
Or which one would you prefer, or is it easier to navigate?
Yeah. So the key difference between a subject to versus seller financing. So seller financing is when the seller is saying, hey, maybe I have a mortgage, maybe I don't, but I'm going to sell you this property and they're going to be the bank. Okay? So that's seller financing. Okay? Whereas subject to, you're taking over their mortgage that they still owe to the bank. And one of the big reasons you want to do that is because, well, more than one, but the one reason is that you don't have to qualify for a mortgage, so you don't have to go through Joe's whole process.
True no doc. It's a true no doc.
This is absolutely no doc. Right. It's just as long as the seller is comfortable with you, they're good, right? And the other reason I just kind of blanked out on is, okay, I did blank out.
He was asking about, seller finances versus the subject to.
No, I know, but I wanted to get into why you want to do one versus the other, or what the difference between one or the other.
And I'm thinking maybe, as you're starting something, one can turn into the other. You see what I'm saying?
You can. Yeah. So
that's a whole nother podcast.
Right? Yeah.
We're definitely going to touch on something like that.
Well, that is called a mortgage wrap. Okay. So what I did on my Texas property is I purchased the property subject to, right? So it's subject to the existing mortgage.
You're here in Jersey, right? How did you get the property in Texas?
Through a wholesaler.
Okay.
Same thing. Through a wholesaler. So I closed on the property, right? I had an attorney who did all the paperwork. She did all the title work.
Let me stop you just a second.
Yes.
Because I was watching a podcast recently. A lot of the stuff that people don't understand or get confused about is what's behind the black curtain, right?
Yeah.
So you just say wholesaler, right? Is this someone you had a relationship with?
No.
Is this someone you found on Facebook? Did you guys meet at Whole Foods?
No. The crazy thing is that I met this person on Facebook.
Okay.
I didn't know them at all, had no previous relationship, nothing.
Did they find your profile and see that you were an investor?
Nope.
Okay. So
No.
so let's
None
start
of that
from there.
stuff. Yeah.
Let's start from there.
None of
real
that
quick.
stuff. So I just went to, I don't even remember what group, honestly.
Okay.
Right? So I went to a random Facebook group, and this person was advertising on the Facebook group. It's, like, hey, I have a subject to deal, and these are like the rough numbers,
And you were familiar with what a subject to was
yeah,
at the time?
Yeah, I already knew. And I did this deal, I think like 3 or 4 years ago. Okay. That's when I did my first subject to deal.
So he basically just threw it on Facebook, first come, first serve type of deal.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you jumped on it, you guys connected, and
Yep.
and then you got the property. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So I got the property. Then what I did was I had a realtor specialist who specialized in seller finance. Okay. So I said, hey, find me a person who wants to buy a house on seller finance. Because essentially what I was doing was I was selling that house. Right. And
you were going to list it?
Yeah.
That was your original intention, to list the property?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I went through a couple of thought process, right? So what I did was I was like, can I wholesale it? No, price is too high. Can't really wholesale it again, right? Can I do a long-term rental? I probably could, but it's so far away. I've never even been to the house. So I said, I don't really know the neighborhood, so let me not do that. I could have Airbnb'd it. So I looked around. There's nothing besides houses close by. There's like SeaWorld. This is in San Antonio, by the way.
Okay.
So there's SeaWorld, but it's about 25-minute drive to SeaWorld. So I could have said, hey,
who knew there was a SeaWorld in San Antonio?
Yeah. So you stay here, and you can go to SeaWorld, right? But that was like the only thing. There was like no restaurants around, nothing.
Okay.
Air
bases, army bases, anything?
Yeah, there is an army base. Actually,
Okay.
the original seller, he was in the military, and that's why and he was getting redeployed, and that's why he needed to get out of that right away.
Gotcha.
And he didn't have time to really put it on the market to list it, and even if he listed it, he was gonna lose some money. But I'll get into like how do you qualify it afterwards.
Right.
So basically, I went through all those iterations, and then I was like, the prices are, because there wasn't a ton of equity, right, between me and the guy. So I said, you know what? I'll just do a mortgage wrap and then sell it. Okay. So like I said, I found the realtor, and I still talk to the guy. He keeps telling me, hey, come to San Antonio. We'll go to a nice barbecue, whatever. I was like, yeah.
I'll go
The next time, I find another
I'll
deal.
You. I'll come with you.
I know you like barbecues. Yeah. So basically, like I said, going back to the wrap, basically I found a buyer who doesn't have the best credit, right? But they do make decent income. And what they did was they put a decent amount of down payment. So they gave me about, I think it was like $30,000 or $40,000 in down payment.
Okay.
But so a lot of, like, more than half of that money went to different things. First of all, the realtor took a a chunk of
Got
it.
their fee.
Yeah, and then the rest was going $15,000 profit. After that, what it is basically you have your existing mortgage, and like you put a wrap on top of that, right? A new mortgage.
You rename it.
Yeah. So basically put a new mortgage on top of that, and then each month for the next 30 years, I'm gonna make about $400, or I'll get the lump sum, which is a lower amount, right? If they pay it off early. So basically, so now I don't have to worry about fixing the property, toilet breaking, roof leak, none of that stuff. I don't care because I don't own the house anymore, but I'm still getting these monthly checks.
So the mortgage is still in the original owner's name.
Yeah.
How did the deed transfer? Because those are two different things, right?
Right. So the same thing I kind of explained earlier. It's the same way. So we did a trust, okay? So that the beneficiary of the trust got assigned to me, okay?
Okay.
So if the bank ever asks, I show them the original trust. Hey, it's still in the guy's name.
Okay.
So like I was
saying. So
saying.
there's two trusts.
Well, there's a trust and then there's an assignment of beneficiary.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay. So it's two separate documents. If you show the bank, you don't show them the assignment of beneficiary. You only show them the original trust.
Gotcha.
If they ever ask to see it, the bank never asked me.
Because the payments are being.
Yeah, the payments are being made.
How are the payments? Like, has the person been on time every month? Have there been any issues?
We did have a little bit of an issue because at the beginning we had a servicer. So what the servicer does is they will take the payment from the new buyer. They'll take the payment, and then what they'll do is they're gonna send that monthly payment to the original mortgage company.
Okay.
And then send me the balance every month.
Okay. And they control that for you every month.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
About 8-9 months ago, the servicer went belly up. And she kept doing her job, but she never looked at the statements. And what happened is the payments went up. Okay? So because of the taxes and
the taxes got reassessed.
Insurance, yeah. And insurance. So the payments actually went up. But they never told the buyer.
So when the bank or the servicing department sends out the letter saying, hey, because they're supposed to do that by law, right?
Yeah.
That your escrows are going up now because of taxes. Where did that letter end up?
Nowhere.
Is that what the issue was?
Yes.
Harry Houdini of real estate.
Yeah. So I had to take it in my own hands.
How did you figure it out?
How do I figure it out? Well, the bank kept contacting me, and because I get all the statements, right? The original statements from the bank, and then I'll share it every couple of months with the servicer. So the bank is like, "Hey, you're late. You didn't make the payment. I'm like, "What the hell? We send in the payments every month." And what it is that if you don't send the full payment, they put that payment into principal. Okay. Only. The whole thing went into principal payments because they think you're adding, to it. So let's say
the interest that's front loaded is not getting paid.
Right.
Whoa.
Yeah. So the payments were like $1,900, right? The payments were $1,900, but my bank payments was like $1,500. Okay, so they're sending me, I think at that time was like $1,600 because the original was like $1,200. Okay, so it went up like $200-$300, And so they're sending it to me. I'm sending that same amount to the bank, right? And I don't look at the statements. I just whatever they send me, not even me, them, right? They're doing it, so I'm not even doing anything. I just get my payments, my $400. So finally, I look at the thing because the bank is like now trying to call me, and I'm like, what the hell is going on?
And it can't be a lot.
It's not a lot. It wasn't a lot. No. So finally, then I talked to the realtor, and then he gets in touch with the buyer, and we kind of talk and we work it out. And she's like, "Oh, the servicer, blah blah blah." I was like, "Oh, that's what's going on, the servicer." So I'm like, "Okay, you know what? From now on, just send me the check directly. Don't send it to the servicer. We just cut her out."
Gotcha.
So I figured out all the math myself, and I said, okay, here's what you owe, to catch up. Send me that payment and we'll be good.
Right.
And that's it. Yeah. So I just reached out to them. We had a talk. We resolved it.
So in the contract, right, this is really important, guys. I've never heard anyone mention this situation because everyone's, hey, just subject to and collect your money and go on to the next one. And now I'm driving the new Porsche electric car, right?
Yeah.
So
Tesla, baby.
So now that the escrows have gone up, right, because of the taxes and the insurance, did you have a contract that said in case that the taxes and insurance, you didn't have that in there?
No.
Should you have had that in there?
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
So I got lucky because
what was the difference? What's the difference?
I think it was like $250 a month.
An additional $250.
Oh, I'm not losing because the buyer made up the difference. So I'm still making the same amount.
So you worked it out with the buyer that, hey, this is your new mortgage payment.
Yes.
Oh, okay. But they could have fought you on that, right?
Yes. They could have been like, no, fuck you.
Right. He's not watching this.
Yeah. So I could have been like losing that amount.
But it was a learning lesson that going forward, you'll have a stipulation, hey, in case and when it does, because it will happen.
Yeah.
When taxes increases, there's new assessments.
Yes.
You've done, you went and repaired the front of your house, and the city drove by and said, "Hey, this is a great new siding, but it's not the siding we have on file," and they raise your taxes. Or there's been tons of hurricanes and floods, and your homeowner's insurance goes up.
Right.
You got to pay the difference.
Yes. But this is on a mortgage wrap specific situation. Nothing really to do with subject to.
Right.
Okay. Just so people are clear.
Right.
Yeah. So, okay. So in terms of what situation is best for a subject to, let's put it in numbers so that it's kind of clear to, I guess, the audience. Okay. Right. We kind of talked about it. So let's say you have a property that's worth about $200,000. Okay. And now you need to get out of this property, right? But you don't want to lose money getting out of the property. Mm-hmm. Okay. So you do need some renovation on the property. Not a lot, but still. The average, let's say the average, how do I want to put it? The average house that, if you had to, let's say, short sale the house, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's another situation.
So is this particular owner behind, or are they current on their mortgage?
They could be behind or current. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
In that as much, right? It's a little harder if they're behind, because whoever's coming in to take over those payments, you got to catch up. Okay. Okay, before you can transfer that deed.
So let's paint the picture, right? Would this make a lot of sense? Let's say you got someone that needs to, they're moving out of state. They've gotten their job has relocating them with, great new salary that they can't turn down. Mm-hmm. But they don't want to lose. They're in an up and coming neighborhood. They don't want to lose the equity that's coming down the road in this property. Is that what you're saying?
No, it wouldn't be a situation like that.
Okay.
It would be a little bit more of a distressed type of situation.
Okay.
Not someone who has the money to move out And so I've done something like that too, where
that's what I was thinking of an idea, because you have all these people with these forever interest rates, right?
Mm-hmm.
Forever interest rates meaning if you bought a house between 20, 21, and some of 22, you have a forever interest rates in most cases, right? You're never going to see an interest rate like that ever again in your life.
Yeah. So, all right, quickly, I bought a house. We bought a lakefront property in Lake Hopatcong, and that was the situation with that seller. They actually were supposed to get married and move out to Florida, and they needed to go like right away. Okay, and then he didn't want to do a subject to. He's like, no, I don't want any attachments to this property. Like, I just want to be clean. Okay. So no subject to, and he was actually losing about $60,000 just to get out. Like, we got a steal on that property
between closing costs. And
exactly.
Listing the
realtor.
Okay.
Well, actually, there was no realtor. Like, it was just he found me on an ad. Okay. And that's how he called me up. I came by, looked at the house. I was like, he was asking $350. We ended up settling on $275.
What was the house? What did it appraise for?
I think the appraisal was like $400, $450.
Wow.
Yeah. And I was offering $250.
How much did they owe on it? What was the?
I don't know how he owed like $400.
Well, so he was okay.
No, not $400. Sorry, like $350, something like that.
That's what you were saying. He was going to break even if he listed the house.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So that would have been a great subject to property for that guy, because he wouldn't have lost no money whatsoever, right? But he didn't want to. He was willing, because he had money, and he wasn't in like that kind of distress where he had no money, but it's like he was like an IT guy, so he probably made, I don't know how much he made, but he's definitely making over six figures. So he's like, I gotta get out of here. Like, I hate Jersey. I'm done. So he was gone. So the other situation, the house I just did now, the situation is the lady's husband passed away. Okay, so he was actually a plumber, and he was the breadwinner, right? And then because he passed away, they had like no savings or nothing, basically. And the wife, she was like, oh, okay, I have no income, period. Like, I have no income, no saving, nothing. So the house wasn't in a great condition where, like, hey, let me put it on the market, it'll sell for like $220, right? It wouldn't, because it'll sell for slightly less than what the mortgage amount is. Okay, so the mortgage is like, let's say $180, right? And in order for her to break even, just walk away clean, she has to sell it for like $220. Okay, but the house is not worth $220.
Right.
It's worth maybe $190. Right. So that's kind of where, like, if she doesn't want to lose a ton of money, this is the best way out. Gotcha. Because she doesn't have $30,000-$40,000 to put in order to sell it for $220. Okay. So that's why subject to was awesome for her. If a wholesaler comes in, they're like, oh, I'll buy your house for $150. That's not going to work for her, right? Because she owes $180.
Right.
So she's going to lose $30,000 in that way too.
Right.
So that wouldn't work. So that's why I say it's kind of the sweet spot, right in the middle. Are we getting like crazy home run deals? These are not home run deals, because you're kind of paying a little bit more so that you can get into their mortgage. Gotcha. And her mortgage was 2%, and I got 13 years left. So I'm paying all principal on this thing,
So your intention is to pay this off completely?
Eventually, yeah.
As fast as possible?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
well, not really as fast as possible. I'm just gonna pay it as I go, because it's a 30-year mortgage, but I got 13 years left on it. So basically, it's like I bought a 15-year mortgage.
Right.
Because she already took care of most of the interest
at 2%.
2%.
Again, this is
Yeah.
These are forever loans.
Right.
Forever.
Yeah, I wouldn't give it up. So when let's say I need to sell this house,
it's basically zero interest.
Right. It's free money.
Right.
So if I ever need to sell this house for whatever reason, like I get tired of it and maintenance sucks or can't find a good tenant and I need to sell, I'll just do a mortgage wrap, sell it to somebody.
Makes no sense to list this property.
Oh, no, of course not. It's not, again, it's not the greatest, not the sexiest deal, but that 2% is unbelievable.
Right.
That's sexy enough.
Yeah. Right. So let's go into loans, right?
Okay.
Well, we're already in loans, but
Right.
let's go into a more conventional type of loan. Okay?
Conventional, unconventional.
Yeah. What's out there in the market now? Can you explain what a DSCR loan is?
Oh man.
And what the difference is? Okay, so there is, let's say, DSCR loan, non-QM, and a couple different like non-conventional loan.
Mm-hmm.
Can you explain a little bit about those and what the differences are?
Like an unconventional loan?
Yeah.
Very simply. Very simple. There's conventional, non-conventional. Non-conventional also could be / non-QM loans, right? In this industry, there's different names for the same product will have 7 different names just to make things super confusing. A conventional loan essentially is something. It's an FHA loan that everyone hears about, government-backed loan, right? VA loans, USDA loans, Fannie and Freddie even, right? Those are conventional loans, a standard conventional loan, right? 5% down, no upfront mortgage insurance. Then you have non-QM. What these are, they're normally private banks, or like even Joey could have, maybe he has a nice stash right now. He wants to go out and become a bank himself. You can do this, right?
Yeah.
You have to go through some legalities and licenses, but he can do that, right? So he says, you know what? I'm going to go into the business. I'm going to go into the business of just offering DSCR loans, right?
Okay.
And what these are non-conventional, non-QM loans where instead of the person, the entity is going to qualify for the loan, the actual property, right? And what that means is instead of you showing your tax returns, W-2s, 1099s, what you're going to do is you're going to identify the property, right? So you have subject property A that's selling for $3,000, right? You can go on.
I'll buy it. I'll buy it right now.
Especially in Jersey.
$3,000.
You could go to my website. You can go to a Mortgage News Daily. You can go find any simple mortgage calculator. Mm-hmm. You're going to put in what the current interest rate is for that type of loan, right? And it is a little bit higher than a conventional loan because there's a lot more risk in these types of loans, right? A lot of investors don't understand that. I hope Joey understands that. He can explain that as well. So you're going to go to the calculator. You're going to put in the interest rate, how much you're going to buy it for. You're going to put your homeowner's insurance. There's no private mortgage insurance with this type of loan because you're putting 20% down, right? Right. So there won't be any monthly mortgage insurance. You're going to take that number, and then you're going to go on Rent-O-Meter. You're going to go on Facebook Marketplace. You're going to go on Zillow and find out what the current rents are for that type of property. Mm-hmm. So let's just make it even numbers, right? Let's say there are 2 floors, 2 units, 2-family house, and each floor has 2 bedrooms, 2 baths, and they're renting out for $1,500.
Okay.
Right? So $1,500 for the top unit, $1,500 for the bottom unit. And now what you're going to do is you're going to take whatever that monthly mortgage payment that you did on the calculator, we're going to say it equaled out to $2,000.
Right.
Right? The bank will qualify for that loan. That property qualifies for a DSCR loan. It varies from bank to bank. You can even do it a negative. We'll get into that in a minute, right? as long as it's over $1, again, it varies on the bank that you're dealing with or the private lender, they will qualify you for the mortgage.
What is the most common amount? Like
It varies. It can
like
vary.
1.25.
Some banks will go negative, Joey. They'll go negative. Depending if you want to put 40% down on a property, they'll let you take the risk and it'll be negative. So now the monthly mortgage payment was $3,000. The rentals are only $2,000. But because you put 40% down, it's a less of a risk to the bank.
Yeah.
More equity for them in case you ever do end up, foreclosing on them and not making the payment. So they'll take over the property. But it's just a way, instead of you having to qualify, the property qualifies for the loan.
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. So that's more common for commercial type properties, right?
Correct.
Yeah, like storefronts. And it doesn't have to be storefront, like stores, offices.
A lot of these buildings in Manhattan are going through that right now. It's a little bit. It's not that easy. There are more pieces to it when we're talking about a 100-story unit in Manhattan. But that's essentially how these properties come to be. They're not just putting down, $80 million.
No, of course not.
No, that's not how it works. That's not how business works.
Yeah. Okay. Nice. So,
but the most important part that I hear, because if you go to DSCR, you're going to see 100 videos on Instagram. You're going to see 100 videos on TikTok. They never talk about the down payment. There's a down payment to this, right? If it were that easy, as the saying goes, then everyone would be doing it, right? You have to have reserves. I'm not sure if you're going to ask that. Some banks are going to ask you for 25% down payment. They're going to ask you, have you even owned a home in the past? Right? That's usually sometimes a disqualifier right off the bat.
Really?
Right? They don't talk about that on these gurus, right?
yeah.
Do you have 6 months reserves that you can show seasoning for, right? Not just that your uncle, hey uncle, you know what I mean? $25,000, I gotta let the bank know. I gotta make it seem as if I have an extra $20,000, but I give it right to you right after the closing, right? No. They're gonna ask you for a few months of bank statements to make sure you've actually had that money in your bank account. So there's a lot more pieces to it, and that's what I wanted to discuss. And I'm you've done a DSCR loan, right?
Sure, yeah.
Was it an easy process?
It wasn't crazy. It wasn't terribly difficult. I would say it's a lot easier than a conventional.
Less documentation.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, they didn't really ask us for, say, tax returns, right? They don't really ask you for tax returns, but they do definitely ask you for your rents. What are your income, right? So your rents and expenses. That's definitely, that's how they're gonna figure out what your debt to income, the property's debt to income ratio is.
Have you done it on a new property?
What do you mean?
Where it wasn't, let's say it was just a family living in a two-family house, and the family took over. You don't have existing rents for that, right? Because the family was renting out the entire unit. What do you do in a situation like that, where now you have to go and prove to the bank that you can get $2,000 a month for each floor, and the appraiser's saying a completely different number?
We're gonna have to go through that very soon.
Okay.
So I don't even know if we can find a bank. I'm hoping you can help me out here.
Is this a new purchase or a refinance?
It would be a refinance. So we're in hard money right now.
Okay.
And this is a 9-unit, it's 11. So it's 2 commercial and 9 residential. Okay. So we are...
And they're currently rented out?
No.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
So now you got to do some homework.
Right. So we have 1 unit rented. We're getting ready to rent a 2nd unit.
Out of 11?
Yeah.
The commercial or the...
residential.
The residential part.
The residential. And then we have 4 unit. Well, 2 is already under construction, almost done. Like, let's say another few weeks, they'll be done. And then 2, and the last remaining 2 will be... It's kind of in shambles right now.
Okay.
So those need to be done. And then we have 3 units that are Airbnb.
Okay.
Right? So, So that's kind of the situation right now. This is heading into August, and we have to do something by October. So realistically, we should be doing it now, because this loan is going to take a while to get done.
So, and when is this a hard money that you've been into for a year, for less than 12 months?
More than a year.
So they've extended it for you?
Yes.
How common is that?
How common?
That isn't most hard money just 12 months?
Not super common, but because this was a bigger deal, they did.
So they gave you an extension.
Yeah.
But I'm saying it's not a common thing
that
a hard money lender will let you go above the 12 months. Maybe 13 months, 14 months max?
They will give you like a 6-month extension.
Okay.
For this deal was a little difficult because we had a lot. We had 8 evictions.
Wow. To go through after the purchase. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Did you try to negotiate that?
And we didn't do it right away.
Did you try to negotiate that before you purchased it?
We had about 3 or 4 cash for keys, and the other 4 we had to evict.
So 3 or 4 took some money to move out.
Yeah.
You offered them some moving expense money.
Yeah. And then, we needed time to renovate. We had to do a lot of stuff with City Hall, land use, and all kinds of crap.
This is in Jersey?
Atlantic City.
Blue state.
Yeah, Atlantic City. So it was not fun. But you learn a lot. You learn what you don't know, and never invest in a D neighborhood is kind of what I learned.
Gotcha.
Also, inherited
and it's not to
tenants
discriminate.
suck.
It's just facts are facts, right?
Yeah.
If you buy, I think this is a great analogy. If you buy a brand new Honda Accord, or you can only afford a 15-year-old Honda Accord, a 15-year-old Honda Accord is going to come with 15-year-old worth of repairs.
Yeah.
So that's when he says a D neighborhood, right? It's not to disparage the neighborhood.
No. It's nothing to do with the neighbor. So you have A class, B, C, and D class, right? Mm-hmm. So for example, A class neighborhood would be, let's say, Alpine or Short Hills, okay? Mm-hmm. So something like that, where it's a high-end luxury. You got mostly all single-family homes in there, and they're multi-million-dollar homes. That's like an A class.
Or rental units.
Yeah, some rentals, or you could even say Livingston is an A class, right? And then you go to more of a B. Which is just a slight step down from that, a good neighborhood, good schools, right? Not the best schools. And then you have a C type of neighborhood. C type neighborhoods would be, say, I would consider it a Kearney or something like that, or a Harrison, where there's a lot of renter base. Even Newark is a C class neighborhood. Well, Newark is kind of funny because it's kind of a mix, right?
Right.
You have
it's such a large.
Yeah, you have
city.
Anywhere from a B to a D neighborhood in Newark itself.
All in one county. All in one
all
city.
In one city, yeah. So you have, for example, let's say the Forest Hill section. I would say that's almost like a B neighborhood, right? And then you have let's say a North Newark, and Ironbound. Ironbound to me is probably a C plus or even a B minus.
Right.
So that's kind of how I see it. And it has nothing to do with the population. So it's more of the type of neighborhood, the crime rate, the schools, things like that.
Right. Whereas with a Livingston and an Alpine, Short Hills, there's not as much movement happening in the city.
Yeah.
Right. There's a couple of shops, a couple of bagel stores, maybe a supermarket. Whereas in a Kearney, there's tons of traffic based off the commercial space. The docks are right down the road. There's all that truck traffic. So that kind of affects and where you would place it.
Yeah, and the reason why I say a D neighborhood, let's say Atlantic City, Trenton, what's the other one that's infamous? for that.
Vineland,
Camden. Yeah.
Camden's always in the top 10 in the country.
Vineland, I would say, is like a C.
Okay.
Yeah.
Never been there. I've just seen it on YouTube.
It's nice. It's actually nice, believe it or not.
But they're very, for you buyers, there's actually some great deals down there.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know anything about that city, and someone said they wanted to buy something down there. They were currently renting, and I went and looked it up. There was like a 3.2 for like $80,000-$90,000.
Really?
In that area. This was a
buy.
few months back. Yeah, maybe like 100. But it was it was much less than expensive than, a Newark.
Absolutely. So those are like D neighborhoods to me, like Detroit. That's a D.
Gotcha.
Right?
The D.
Yeah. So, very high crime rates, a lot of drugs, things like that.
Gotcha.
So that's how we define it.
Gotcha.
All right. Yeah. So let's get into a little bit. We haven't talked in a while about crypto, right? So let's kind of get an update. What's going on with the crypto world? And yeah, let's do it.
So
what do you have for us?
So I think right now we've been trading sideways. Actually,
slowed down a little bit, right, over the last couple of weeks.
Yeah. So since we had that news from BlackRock, we had that push, but we've been trading sideways between 28,500 to 31,700. Now, I was expecting a nice breakout after 31,500, but we got rejected. So now the key level to be looking at is 32,000.
Okay.
Once we see Bitcoin cross the
that's
32,
your new resistance?
Yes, that's the new resistance. Once that resistance is broken, then 35 is what I'm expecting. Volume is extremely low.
What do you expect the resistance to be once it breaks that level?
Around 36,000.
Okay.
Yeah, and I'm expecting maybe a correction by 42,000 if we get there. Like a little like correction before the halving, because the crypto market is going to get exciting after April of next year. So we're in a...
Why April?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Because April, there's something called the Bitcoin halving. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
No.
But it has to do with the miners and the supply. So supply gets reduced for the miners.
Okay.
So it creates more scarcity, which people just see it as the asset will appreciate more, right?
So people not mining as much?
They get less rewards as they mine Bitcoin.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So it's less incentives for them.
Right.
Less revenue.
Yeah, less revenue. And that's why you have Mara and all these big companies investing in heavier, because I actually don't think many miners will stay in the game. Only the big ones will stay as this happens, right? But yeah, so if you Google Bitcoin halving, you now see institutions talking about that. So the next Bitcoin halving is in April of next year. We're in a very early bull run right now. Now, there's talks, people are saying that since everybody knows about the Bitcoin halving being in April, we might see an earlier run. So maybe for something that's called the Crypto Santa Rally. I don't know if you guys heard about that, but
Happens in December.
It's in December, and it's usually the whole crypto market tends to do good on
for the stock market in general.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say, to be honest. We've been trading sideways. Volume is low, but it doesn't mean it's bad. I mean, when Bitcoin bottomed out at 15,500, I mean, it's already 100x by now. It's just sideways trading. We're waiting for the next leg up. It's still a buy opportunity, right? I mean, it's not the best now, but to where it's heading, Bitcoin is... I think it's a good asset people should look into. Now, the stock market is a different story now, because if you look at the S&P 500, it's getting extended. It's the S&P 500. If you look at the levels in the RSI, and how far some of these stocks are from their moving average. They're very extended. So
there's a huge bull run still ahead of us.
I think there is, but there's going to be a correction, or maybe by October. But I would be careful with like going too crazy on call options. So, I mean, as we're comparing, right, what's better, Bitcoin or just crypto in general? Because mainly everything, you still find great deals, right? And it's all about the deals.
Say correlated to real estate. There's still deals to be had,
Yeah.
but you got to sift through them and find out which are the good ones.
So the good deals right now are in crypto, not as much as the stock market. Well, depending on the stocks, but you still have some low caps that you can make some money. But for example, we've been talking about NEO, I think, since the last podcast.
I haven't followed up with them.
NEO, I think, hit almost $20, but NEO's ready to pull back. And when we were looking at it and talking about it, it was $7. When I was trading it,
NEO, an electric
Chinese
car company.
Chinese car, yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, you know, some of these stocks that have had huge rallies, I think will pull back when the S&P 500 pulls back. If you are investing or trading, definitely look at the S&P 500 because that's.
But wasn't everything supposed to crash? That's what all the gurus were saying on YouTube. This was going to be the biggest stock market crash in history.
You know what?
And everything's gone in the opposite direction. Not everything, but
recession. What happened to that?
Yeah.
No more recession now.
That's why, honestly, I mean, it goes back to the news, right? What people just want to create more panic, so there's more flush and opportunity to scoop up.
They just did a small survey through Sanders Bank. They surveyed like 2,500 of their customers, and it said 79% of them. I think I saw this on the Wall Street Journal. 79% of them said they weren't worried about any other recessions. They're going to be spending just as much as they've been spending in the last couple of months or years. They're going to go on their trips. They've got enough money to invest into the stock market. Like, they just feel comfortable. 79% of 2,500 people surveyed.
But you know why I think that is? It's because you still have a lot of people.
It's not a huge data.
Right. It's a small sample, but
Yeah,
there's
small sample
still a lot
size.
of people employed. You know, I think the big impact comes when people start losing more of their jobs. So
And the government's kind of giving up on that right now.
yeah, I mean, and interest rates are going to go up more. Apparently in September. That's what I heard. Another 25 points. So, I mean, interest rates are still moving. It's not paused.
They keep bending the pencil or bending.
They want to crack it so hard.
They want to crack, but it won't crack.
But it won't crack.
And they're starting to, even though they're still, Uncle Jerome Powell is still trying to, raise the Fed fund rate, but they are talking now about giving up on making people lose their jobs.
And
they blatantly said this,
and
right?
Honestly,
Yeah.
Something else that I've noticed is because people are more financially savvy, like through this podcast, right? You know how many people are getting educated right now?
Right.
A lot.
There's a lot of great
So
podcasts out there as well.
So
very good information.
So I think people are staying stronger. They're not as before, right? Like back in the 2008 recession or even before that, right? More people are using YouTube and all that, so they're stronger financially. But we'll see. I mean, I'm pretty much all into crypto right now.
You just watch it on a daily basis, see
So
what level to get in. You're like kind of like jumping rope, right?
No, I'm not. I'm actually not buying. I bought a lot.
So as I'm saying, are you waiting for the right time right now?
if it does go lower than where it's at now, like if we get a panic flush, which those are my favorites to buy, then I'll buy more.
Flush where it going
like
down?
A flush, like we get a 10 over 10% is considered a flush.
Gotcha.
Like a flush like that, which could happen. I mean, anything can happen.
Where it goes down, I'm saying, right?
Yeah, it goes
Okay.
down.
Gotcha. Same in real estate.
I mean,
Oh yeah.
I mean,
Foreclosures.
I think everybody's
foreclosures
waiting
are going
for
up. Foreclosures are up a bit, right?
Up a tick.
There's an uptick in foreclosures, but the numbers, what was like 195,000 I saw the other day of new foreclosure processes.
But
getting started.
here's
but
the
divide
thing.
that over how many houses.
Right.
own in the
There's
country.
nothing. So here's the thing, though. In order to participate in this, right, foreclosure, you got to be going to the auctions. or you got to know somebody at the bank in order.
A realtor.
Yeah, in order.
So they don't just talk to anybody.
Right, because your everyday people, new investors, you're never gonna see these things. That's the thing. So I want to quickly, before the end of the show, we had one of our guests, Mike Dunn. He had a question for probably for you more specifically. Do you have any products for short-term rentals? DSCR, would that be good for short-term rental?
Yeah, as long as it qualifies. Or again, if it's negative and he has some equity, yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, they're open to Airbnb.
Oh, really?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about, right? Airbnb.
Yeah,
for sure. No, we definitely can do it for Airbnb.
Okay, cool. So that answers it. Also, before I end, I just want to tell everybody that today and today only, you can have free dinner.
What?
You get free dinner.
On you?
Not on me.
Oh.
I was about to say, where are we going?
Not on
Where are we
me.
going?
But if you go actually out to Morristown, right, they have a Habitat Burger
Okay.
opening up, and they're giving away a free meal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so starting 5 p.m., they're giving away free meal. So whoever
Of course,
wants
I know you're running over there. I got something to do.
yeah, whoever wants to meet me at Habitat Burger at 5 p.m.,
That's a
we'll
great
go there
invitation, man.
That's
That's a networking invitation.
Yeah.
Hey, if
Absolutely.
You're watching this,
yeah. If you're still watching,
I got excited because I know it's an old saying, right? But your net worth is your network.
yeah,
And this is free networking.
yeah.
You don't even have to buy him anything.
Don't buy me anything. Just bring a few dollars. Okay.
wait, Joey, before you finish, I actually wanted to add something.
Yeah,
I guess
definitely.
for people that can't find foreclosure deals, right? Do you recommend they try to find tax lien deals? Or do you think that's too...
Tax lien deals are a little tougher. So with tax liens, there's no real leverage. Okay, meaning it's all cash.
Right.
Right. The
Okay,
only way
that
you're going
makes
to be
sense.
able to get some kind of leverage is, let's say you partner up with somebody or you do some type of private lending. That's the only type of leverage you're going to be able to get.
Yeah,
Because you can't go to a bank and say, hey, listen, I'm going to buy a tax lien and I'm going to give you 20% down.
Could you do a subject to on a tax lien property?
No, because it's all cash up front.
Right. It's for the.
So you just can't.
So
You can't catch up on the rears and then go into a subject to?
No.
Can't do
Because
that.
you don't buy the property. You're essentially paying that person's taxes. All right? And what you get in return is basically some interest once you pay it, depending on when they pay from the city.
Oh, you're talking about just buying tax liens themselves?
Right. But,
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
But I guess if they don't pay the taxes back, you keep the property though, right?
Right. Well, in New
It's long
Jersey, in New Jersey, you still need to foreclose on them. So you got 2 years until you could foreclose on them.
2 years.
Yeah. So it
They're
takes,
like double leaps in options.
Yeah. So it takes time for that. And then a lot of times the bank, whoever owns the mortgage, a lot of times they will pay it off. Because they don't want you who, let's say you come in and that person's
Wait, the bank will backdoor you?
no,
Oh.
they'll pay off your
the taxes.
your
down the
tax
road.
lien.
Okay.
Yeah. Because they don't want, let's say the asset is 200,000, the property's worth 200,000, right? And you're putting in, say, 10K to buy this tax lien, right? So the bank doesn't want you to buy it because, you're essentially getting a 200K property for $10,000.
Right.
To them, they're like, okay, we'll just pay you the 10,000.
Get off our backs.
Yeah. At the end of the day, they still, they'll still,
Stop
They still
meddling
have-
in my business.
they still have the property. So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
But you make your interest on it, though.
Right.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to the video. So with that said, thank you guys for watching another episode, and have a great week.